During the Ming Dynasty, the military governor was extremely fond of his wife. After his wife passed away, the emperor often comforted him. Subsequently, he was absent for several days. When the emperor inquired about his whereabouts, people replied that he had just married a new wife. The emperor said angrily, "This fellow is so callous towards the relationship between husband and wife. Can he still serve me loyally?" Consequently, he was punished with flogging and alienated by the emperor. The governor's behavior clashed with the impression the emperor had of him previously, causing the emperor to change his opinion of him. This teaches us that in life, we should always keep our words and deeds consistent. What we say should match what we actually do. If our words and deeds often contradict each other, others will doubt our credibility. The emperor's negative assessment of the governor due to his behavior indicates that an individual's behavior and manners have a significant impact on their personal image. One should always pay attention to whether their behavior conforms to social moral norms and public order and good customs. By engaging in positive behavior, a good personal image can be shaped, thereby winning the respect and recognition of others and facilitating smoother social interactions. The emperor discerned the governor's attitude towards feelings from his behavior and then questioned his loyalty to the monarch. When leading and managing a team, leaders should be adept at observing the subtle manifestations of their subordinates in daily life and various events to gain an in-depth understanding of their inner qualities, such as their characters and values. Only in this way can they accurately judge whether their subordinates are trustworthy and capable of undertaking important tasks. The emperor promptly punished the governor upon discovering his problems. This demonstrates that in the leadership and management process, the principle of being fair and just in rewards and punishments must be adhered to. Subordinates who conform to the team's values and perform excellently should be rewarded to encourage them to continue their efforts, whereas those who violate moral norms and engage in improper behaviors should be punished in a timely manner to maintain the good order of the team and the correct behavioral guidance, ensuring the healthy and orderly development of the team. When the country was being attacked by an enemy nation, an envoy was sent to the neighboring country in the south to seek help. The monarch of that country was extremely pleased and readily agreed. However, the envoy returned with a worried look on his face. His coachman asked, "The reinforcements have already agreed to help. What are you still worried about?" He said, "Our country is weak while the enemy nation is powerful. Ordinarily, when one has to offend a powerful enemy nation in order to help us, people would be hesitant and worried in such a situation. But they are so happy. They must be hoping that we will hold our ground in the war and not make peace with the enemy nation. Once we hold our ground and deplete the enemy's military strength, it will naturally be to their advantage." A long time passed and even 5 more cities were captured, yet still no reinforcements came to our aid. After the monarch of the other country readily agreed to provide aid, the envoy was not deceived by this seemingly positive response on the surface. Instead, he noticed the detail that the monarch showed extreme pleasure. Being able to capture the possible problematical nuances in what seemed like a favorable situation reflects his meticulous ability to observe the surrounding environment and the reactions of people. The envoy associated and thought about the current situation of our country being weak and the enemy nation being powerful with the fact that the other side readily agreed to provide aid and showed a happy expression. He didn't view the promise of aid in isolation but analyzed it comprehensively by taking multiple factors into account. He realized that under such a situation where the contrast in strength was obvious, there might be other motives hidden behind the other side's abnormal behavior. He accurately judged that the other side's agreement to provide aid was not sincerely meant to help our country get out of the predicament but rather hoped that our country would hold its ground in the war to deplete the enemy's military strength so that they could reap the benefits. He was not blinded by the appearance of the other side's enthusiastic agreement to provide aid but instead delved deep into the real intentions behind it. This ability of associative thinking helps to gain a deeper insight into the essence of things. This story warns people that when facing promises given by others, especially when it involves their own safety or major interests, they should not blindly believe just because of the other side's seemingly positive attitude on the surface. They should fully consider the interest relationships of all parties as well as the background of the situation. Because very often, others' promises may be driven by their own interests, and there may be ulterior motives hidden behind them, just like the other side in this story had other plans despite agreeing to provide aid. In international exchanges or similar complex interpersonal relationship situations, one should learn to perceive the real thoughts and latent intentions of the other side. One should not only look at the surface words and actions but also analyze deeply the possible interest considerations and strategic layouts behind them. Only in this way can one maintain a clear understanding in a complex situation, not be misled by false appearances, and thus make better response decisions to safeguard one's own interests and security. The Prime Minister retired and went back to his hometown to spend his old age. The people around him all held him in great esteem and respect. One day, a villager cursed him after getting drunk. The Prime Minister admonished his servants not to argue with him. 1 year later, this man was thrown into prison for committing a capital crime. Only then did the Prime Minister feel regretful and said, "If I had sent him to the local authorities for interrogation and given him a minor punishment at that time, it would have taught him a great lesson. However, I only thought about maintaining my elegant and good reputation and failed to correct his behavior in a timely manner. Instead, I allowed his bad behavior to develop, which has led to his current situation where he is going to die for his crime." In the story, the Prime Minister didn't correct the drunk villager who cursed him by giving him a minor punishment in a timely manner at the beginning, which resulted in the villager's bad behavior remaining uncorrected and finally committing a capital crime. This enlightens us that when facing the improper behaviors of others, especially the minor mistakes in the early stage, it is crucial to give appropriate corrections and guidance in a timely manner. We shouldn't let it go just because the mistakes are small, otherwise they may go further and further on the wrong path. The Prime Minister regretted later that he hadn't sent the villager to the local authorities for interrogation and given him a minor punishment to teach him a lesson. This shows that moderate punishment plays a certain role in educating and regulating the behaviors of others. It can serve as a restraining force, making the wrongdoers aware of the boundaries and consequences of their behaviors, thus avoiding more serious mistakes from happening. The Prime Minister chose not to care about the cursing at first in order to maintain his elegant and good reputation, but the result was not satisfactory. This reminds us that we shouldn't just focus on maintaining a seemingly good reputation while ignoring the actual correct actions that should be taken. Reputation is indeed important, but what matters more is to truly influence and change the surrounding situations through actual deeds, so as to be worthy of the name instead of having an empty reputation.
More detail, more story, follow me, please.